We continue with those qualifications. The background or cover story regarding the assumed identity must easily win the confidence of the suspect or organization, and it should very rarely be wholly fictitious. Again, being able to have some of your own personal life into this helps you remember things better. So if you played Little League football as a child, you don't want to say you played Little League basketball. You may be asked questions about that. Again, the more personal it is, the more you're going to remember it, but also it doesn't want to be your life. It's got to be the life, the background story that would fit with the organization. Your badge and credentials are never carried. A weapon is carried only when it's consistent with your background story, and there must be a safe communication system between the undercover agent and a headquarters. There's usually a case agent or case officer who is going to be the contact, and that there's going to be times when that person will make contact, arrangement for drops, safe houses, also making sure that your handler does know where you live if you're living off-site in an undercover capacity, where you're living, how to get in touch with you in case of an emergency, how you get in touch with them in case of an emergency. Many times an agency will have a hello number. In other words, it's an unlisted number that if you call it, the person answers it hello instead of a police department, and that way there's no chance that somebody would call the wrong number or whatever. There will be times when the undercover may be under surveillance as well for their safety and also for intelligence gathering. The operative should never pose as a criminal unless there's no other approach that's going to allow that to happen. The role of the operative, again, is to gather information, never instigate the commission of a crime, and the plans for the operation before this thing is even put into play. You must consider actions, alternatives, in case the undercover operative is arrested. It may be while you're investigating this criminal enterprise, so is another agency. And what do you do when that person is arrested? How do you go through the process? Who do they call? Are they going to be lodged in the jail and things like that? And again, there have to be decisions that are made. Do we decide to disclose to the let's say if you're a state agency and you've got a local law enforcement agency that arrested, are you going to disclose to that local agency that information or whatever? And are you going to try to work through the system to get that person off or whatever? Those are all things that need to be thought out ahead of time. The undercover operative should act as natural as possible. Don't overplay the part. A lot of times, again, especially starting out, you're nervous. You think everything that you do is being observed. Not necessarily. They may be, when a new person is introduced to a group, they're always suspicious, but that's just the way we are by nature. Don't indulge in activity which is not in conformity with your assumed identity. Don't go overboard, again, I think is a key thing here. Don't make notes unless they're to be mailed or passed immediately. Also use codes. Don't ever put a return address if you put it on a letter or an envelope. Don't use intoxicants except to play the part, and if you can mask the use of intoxicants, that's great. You never want to get to the point where you are drunk, where you get to yourself out of control. So be creative on ordering a drink and then drinking it slowly, or watering down a drink or something of that nature. And again, watch the women. And I've talked about women. I probably need to flip this around and say women who are working undercover, watch the men. Because again, there's this problem to get intimate, and not only is there a problem with that just can muddy up the whole operation, but also the ethical issue of this, should there develop some type of relationship. Impermissible conduct. Again, we've talked about committing crimes. Crimes are not to be committed without prior approval. Again, as part of the plan, the undercover operative should be discussed with the prosecutor. Can they commit minor crimes, misdemeanors? What are they to do if there's going to be a major crime that's going to happen? Is this where we pull the plug, we bring in the troops, we take what we have? How do we deal with those situations? Again, the book Donnie Brasco is an excellent one to read. It talks a lot about, and let me say this as I'm talking about the book. I've read the book, and you have to take everything with a grain of salt, I think. But there's a lot of things in there that will show you the realities of working undercover. And other impermissible conduct, conversations with lawyers, attorney-client privilege, entrapment issues, and again, intimate activities with subjects or related parties.